Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us.
Welcome to the Why Doesn't My Partner podcast.
I'm Jules.
I'm Vickey.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met through our training and practice of relational life therapy. Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients. We're going to bring those questions here.
And together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions. This podcast is not a substitute for therapy. If something you hear in this episode stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com and leave us a question of your own. Here's today's question.
Hi, ladies. First of all, I want to say congratulations on creating this new podcast. I love the idea behind it because I think that a lot of times we can project our own insecurities or our own shadow aspects on our partner. And this is actually something that I've learned within my own relationship and have learned to reflect back to myself because I truly believe that we are the common denominator in all of our relationships and just our life in general, right? At the end of the day, we get to choose. So it's a little weird for me to ask this question, I guess, because I know that, like, I kind of have, like, an understanding, right? But I'm going to go for it. And my question is, why doesn't my partner understand the extent of the traumatic experiences that we've had and shared in our relationship? We have definitely outgrown some aspects, but there's just this lingering thing, and I'm actually going to therapy for it. And so that is my question. Why doesn't my partner understand the extent of the trauma we have experienced together in our relationship? So thank you, ladies. I appreciate you. I admire you all. Thank you for the work that you've done. Thank you for the work that you will do. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
I love this question. And I can tell this is a person who loves U-turns. Yay for
Totally.
U-turns.
Yes.
I can celebrate like how much work you're doing and really looking at how a lot of the stuff you're working through is your stuff that shows up. So yay for you turning, yay for hard work. And what a great question.
Oh my God.
Why doesn't my partner understand that we have shared trauma together? Yeah.
Can we jump in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first thing that comes up for me is how often we experience things differently.
Yeah.
Like
right.
two people can be in the same place and experience things totally differently.
Right.
Yes.
And that could be because of historical differences, like the way I grew up and the way you grew up are two very different things, or it could be because of nervous system differences. Usually it's kind of a both and, not an either or, but like
I'm thinking of fireworks, for example, right? Like you bring 2 or 3 people or however many to watch fireworks. And some people are going to be like, wow, that's so amazing and beautiful. And others are going to be like, oh my God, that's so noisy. That's so scary. What, like,
right. Exactly.
It's the
My
same fireworks.
kid
Yeah.
hates them with an undying passion, which made Disney World actually work out really well for us because we rode all the rides over and over again during the fireworks shows at night.
Love it.
Because she hated the fireworks. She puts her hands over her ears.
Yeah, it's loud.
I love fireworks and do not experience them as loud.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
But
and
she-
as I've said in other podcasts, it reminds me of my fictional conjoint twin that we were born together. We were in the womb together. We've experienced everything together and seen everything together, and we will still have different reactions and perceptions of things.
Yeah.
So it's all the above, Jules, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
So one thing that may be happening is there may actually be a difference in how you guys experienced a thing. And so
Mhm.
you might experience it as traumatic and he might experience it as difficult.
Hmm.
Maybe
Mhm.
using different language. And sometimes when we're using that different language, we're taking it in to feel like, oh, we're not on the same page or we're not understood.
Yeah. Because these words, like this language, it has different meanings for us, right? When I hear that
Mhm.
something is traumatic for you and it's difficult maybe for me,
Mm-hmm.
for me, we went through something. It was a hiccup.
Mm,
It was maybe even, like maybe I learned something about myself or about you or about us or something. We overcame something. For you, it's lingering. It's holding on to something. And so then, as a therapist, where I'm going, and this isn't necessarily me in my relationship with my partner or in relationship with somebody else, but as a therapist, what my thought is what's it sticking on?
Mm-hmm.
What's the old historical stuff that might be underneath it that is engaged with this story?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I was thinking about when you said that was if we're wanting to be understood, sharing that part of it
Mm,
can be
Mhm.
really helpful, actually. That just occurred to me when you said that.
And-
I wasn't thinking about it before, but
and simultaneously, so vulnerable.
And scary and
right.
beautiful.
Yeah, all of it.
Mhm.
But it's like the bridge towards being understood is sharing that part.
Yeah.
And because we don't feel understood there, sharing that part feels so scary and so vulnerable. And what if I share that and you still don't get me? Then I've opened this thing up. And how can I be with somebody who does to me that thing that was done to me before? So now there's also some layer of grief
And shame.
and shame,
Mhm.
right? Because like I let myself get here.
You know what I'm
Oh my God.
realizing? Wait, guys, we got to pump the brakes. We got to pump the brakes because there's like a root skill that is going to be required in
Yeah.
order to do any of the other. You guys know we love to give you tools
Mhm.
when we're running into this stuff. There's a root skill that we're going to need to help people. I think we've talked about it before, but if
We've
we
talked
haven't,
about it.
We
I'm
had
sure,
to have.
but we should remind them.
Yeah.
Can you name it, Vickey? Hit us.
Cultivating your, either you want to call it your second consciousness or relationship mindfulness. It's cultivating the other part of your brain where skills live and your agenda is connection. Your agenda.
Say it
is-
again. Say it
your-
again. Say it again.
All of it or just that part?
All
Yes,
of it.
the
The part
agenda-
of your brain where skills live.
And I forget, but where
Your
skills live,
agenda
your
is
agenda is
connection.
connection and us.
Right. My agenda is not being understood. My agenda
Right.
is not getting you to say the right thing. My agenda is not anything about how I'm going to prove to you that I'm right or that I need you to agree with me about how this was for us. My agenda is connection.
I'm just like having a moment. Vickey, these are big words where your agenda is connection, right? And so as I hear that, I'm thinking like, oh, that's it, right? Like how many people have come and sat with me and talked to me about something that was going wrong, and their agenda in those moments, whenever they're stuck, whenever they're sticking, is I want to get you to see this the way I do, or I need to defend myself because you don't, or right? Like the agenda is stuck in one of those stories.
Because I think, and no one's verbalized this, but I think I'll just make it me. Because if he would just see it my way, we'd be connected.
And then I would feel understood.
And then, yes.
Right.
But that's the story that we get that keeps us stuck.
Yes, exactly. We don't know that in the moment.
Right. But it is not about staying in connection. So when I'm in connection, I care a lot about my point of view, but I care equally about your point of view.
Yes.
Right. So this is about that other skill that we talk about a lot, which is embracing differences.
Exactly. So can it be okay that I can get my understood needs met and you have a very different experience of me at the same moment? That you have a different experience about this thing, or you have a different story about what went down. And I'm thinking about this like in a broader way, because we don't know what it was that happened.
Right.
You know,
we don't know about what this thing is that they're stuck on.
Right, totally. Sometimes it's like the firework thing, like you were talking about like it affects me in a different way because of my history or DNA or both, most likely. And then it affects you. And we had a really different experience at that moment. It could be a different kind of extreme. Like, what if I'm with my partner and when she gets mad, she comes and stands over me and rages in my face. And now she doesn't do that. But what if, right? That was my experience. And 3 years ago, not all the time, but often enough, that was what I was experiencing. A lot of people would look at that and call that trauma. Yeah. That's a really different kind of experience that I'm wanting to be understood for. And then there's where both people probably called it really difficult, where it's kind of in the middle of those. And we still have different experiences of it, but it was probably rumbly or frictiony.
Sure. Probably.
Right. And so I wonder, you know, what struck me when I heard this question was, I wonder if you breathe slowly and you move into that agenda for connection, like Vickey was talking about, that second consciousness, that relational mindfulness, what's the hope? Like, if I get understood, is it that I want repair for something? Is it that I want you to agree with me about how we see this? Is that what understood means to me? Is it that I want you to answer back to me what it is you're hearing that I experienced? Like, what is it that would give you the feeling of being understood?
And I think this is so interesting because sometimes as partners, we have different understandings of what's needed or thoughts about what's needed here. Like one of us might be really driving towards like, I want you to empathize with me. And the other might hear, you need me to fix this.
You want my advice. I'm here. I'm listening to you. That's why I'm giving you advice. What do you mean I'm not listening to you?
Right. But
I'm clearly listening.
But it doesn't feel like listening.
I came up with 5 ways that you could make this different for yourself.
And what do you mean I'm not listening? I heard every word you said. You said, and I heard you. So how can you tell me I'm not listening?
Yeah, exactly. So when we say being understood, what I'm wondering about is, well, have you been clear with your partner about what that would actually look like for you? Have you painted a picture for them about like, man, hun, it would mean the world to me if I could share what this was like for me, what it reminded me of in my childhood, and have you just tell me if you get how that feeling makes sense that it maybe showed up for me, even if it wasn't your intention, even if it wasn't how you felt it. Could you just let me know if you get it?
And for the other partner that's listening, there's some profound work that they also may have to do to stay in that state of second consciousness of relational mindfulness so that they don't drop into a, I hurt you, I'm so awful kind of place. Right. Or I didn't do that. How could you accuse me of it? Right. Like there's either way that they may be veering. there's a
Mhm.
space of holding themselves warmly, like, let me just put myself aside for a minute and listen to what my partner's experience is.
I love that because this is a really hard skill. It's a very particular skill.
Mhm.
That's a listening skill.
Mhm.
So when you're listening, it's not your turn. And my job is to be in service to you in this moment, not to talk about how I experienced that moment or even how I'm experiencing you now. Am I getting it or not quite?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, so really we're talking about allowing on the listener side for there to be a difference, and that's okay. You don't have to change their mind.
Right.
And then for some people, they really back away from understanding. And the reason they do is because they feel really crappy about what they did.
Yeah.
So we could be dealing with a shame problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was the other thing that I thought about when I heard the question. I'm like, well, if it was really bad, we could have some shame involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that there might also be, like, I heard in this question that this person who's asking the question is in their own therapy to kind of sit with some of this lingering stuff. And what came up for me there in that part was individual therapy is wonderful. I love being in my own individual therapy. I love offering individual therapy. And sometimes in situations like this, couples therapy offers us a framework, a model, a way of doing that deep, vulnerable sharing in the presence of each other and of listening, and can really help to make a shift that might be hard to do on our own.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes we can use that individual space in therapy to sort of prep and be like, here's the picture I'm going to paint. I'm going to see how
Sure.
it goes.
Yeah.
I've decided this is really important to me. And even though I don't have it yet, I'm going to go for it again.
Mhm.
It's really important to me to feel understood about this trauma. And I'm going to practice it with my therapist. I'm going to bring it.
And I'm going to
And then
get to
see what
have an
happens.
experience with my therapist where I feel heard.
Right.
Yes.
Totally.
Right, because and the feeling heard, the downside of addressing these issues in individual is that the partner's not there to learn the skill of the listening. And I often tell my individuals that, like, I'm going to coach you on the speaking portion, and we're going to hope that your partner can do the listening portion. Here's how you can coach him or her at home. But that listening portion is challenging.
I think a lot of it can be modeled by a therapist.
Yes.
Right. Which in couples counseling, we can talk about and have overt conversations. And what is it like for you to hear me listen to you, even though we had differences or different experiences or whatever. But if this partnership, or you're in a partnership, whoever's listening to this, if you're in a partnership where you're not in couples, you could always consider going there. And if not, you could even have one of those, we love meta conversations. You could
It's like our favorite thing, that or grief.
Totally. I love grief too. So meta conversation may be about how we can trade roles. Like right now, I want to be the speaker and listener. You know what else really struck me about this question is I am curious how it would be to ask the partner what their experience was at that time, and maybe even start by trying to understand them and like, is it traumatic for them or was it different for them? And then maybe go into, at some other moment or even at that same moment, it's really different for me. And when you're ready to hear it, I'd love to share that with you.
Yeah.
What comes up for me around that is also, we talk about shame a lot. And on the other side of the shame kind of continuum, we think of it kind of like an energy of contempt, either imploding on the self, that's shame, or exploding out on others, which is more of a grandiosity, a power under, a power over. And when we're in the grandiosity, it's intoxicating. If we're the one who's holding that position in some way, or we're the one in shame. The person in shame is going to be the one who feels it. It doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. It hurts. The person who's in grandiosity, it's like when you're drunk and you think you can drive and someone's trying to take your keys away. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, no, what are you talking about?
I'm fine.
Right?
You don't know me.
Right.
Yeah. Can we give everybody the ticket out of grandiosity?
Yes.
It is accountability. You put empathy and accountability together, and it is your ticket out of grandiosity every single time. And if I'm in judgment of someone else, I am in grandiosity.
Yeah.
Period. So any moment, like I catch myself in judgment because, we're all human and the thoughts are there, right? I go empathy and accountability, Jules. That's like my little mantra when I'm in that space. Empathy and accountability. You're not in a space where you're going for connection here. So I really want to, encourage, if you are being approached and it turns out that your partner did experience trauma in some interaction you had, to think about empathy, think about getting there and put yourself in their shoes for a second and just wonder how it was for them. And they're telling you, and just believe them.
Because they matter too.
Totally. And their point of view matters. It's not about who's right and who's wrong about what happened. It's about right now, this is what my partner's telling me this was like for me. And then look at accountability. So, if you did it, own it.
And
it's really that simple. And it really is. And then say sorry. Like, you're right. I did that thing. Man, that sucked. I'm so sorry. I really hurt you. I'm sorry is such a gift.
And I want it because we can't say it enough. This is staying true to your agenda, which is connection.
Yeah.
Right. It's not you betraying yourself in some way. It's not you not standing up for yourself. It's you staying on course with your agenda in this moment.
Because both of us matter.
And connection, being in an agenda of connection does not mean I have to get you to be connected to me. Right. What that means is, if you're not wanting to be connected in the way I want to be connected right now, I can be curious about what's up for you.
Yeah. That feels like a really good place for us to land today.
Yeah. Lots of skills today.
Tons.
Lots.
We just did a dump for you guys.
Oh my God.
It.
That was awesome.
I don't even know how to summarize that.
Well,
we
just
won't
let
even
it speak
try.
for
That's what
itself.
you usually do. we can't even try today. There were too many. Listen to it again. All right.
I'll go back and listen to this one.
I need it for my own marriage.
All right, y'all. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Love each other best you can, guys. That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner?
We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio and that you'll follow the show.
To go deeper, join us at our boot camp. You'll find the next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you could ask us your question?
Your questions are relational gold.
Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.